Everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. It is a gorgeous spring day here in my mid-Missouri Zone 6 garden. It is the third week of April, and that means it is time already for me to take you around the property and let's do an April walkabout. I don't have my sunglasses on now, but I'm probably going to end up putting them on because it is pretty sunny outside and I am not complaining at all. My things in the garden are growing. They're loving the warmer temperatures, the sunshine. I mean, things are really amping up for the summer season. In fact, today it's going to be around 80 degrees. No complaints by me. What I thought we would do first is start in the greenhouse. Those of you that follow my videos know that my greenhouse changes every month, just like everything in the garden changes, because I have loads of plants coming and going. And right now my greenhouse is packed full of plants that I will be transplanting out into my raised beds, into pots and planters and hanging baskets and all around the property. And I will probably start that exodus from the greenhouse in probably about 10 days, 14 at the most. So before we head into the greenhouse and start our April walkabout, I am going to invite all of you to please like and subscribe to my channel so I can continue to grow my channel and reach more gardeners just like you. Okay, so let's head down and see what is happening in the greenhouse. You know, I feel very fortunate, and I realize how fortunate I am to have saved my money for a long time so that I could actually purchase a greenhouse. But I know a lot of folks that you might not have a greenhouse like mine, but you find ways to start seeds and plants indoors. Some of you actually have really great ideas about how to purchase what we call temporary greenhouses. A lot of the big box stores sell those, and that can really change your gardening game. So let's go ahead and head inside and let's see what's happening. So let's head into the greenhouse, and as we do, just take a little quick peek at my big aqua pots that I have here outside, and they were so pretty this spring. The daffodils are done, but I won't be wasting those. I will be digging those up, the bulbs, and I will probably be planting them back over in this area. I have a little hosta garden under some trees and stick them in with some of the other ones. So anyhow, this will look very different in about 2 weeks as I pull out the spring and put in summer annuals and things I've been growing. So let's take a look. Anybody that does greenhouse gardening knows that this is the time of year where it is all about playing plant tray Jenga or shuffle. So many trays, so little space. I thought what I might do is I'll just take a quick pan down the top shelf and show you what I've got ready for summer. So this is my fail. What in the heck? Take a look inside there. Do you see anything? Yeah, well, I don't either. I started nasturtium seeds, 24 of them in there about 3 weeks ago, and I have no germination. Trying some new seed from a local provider that I picked up recently, and I'm thinking I won't get those seeds again. Anyhow, okay, let's go down the top shelf here in the greenhouse and show you what I've got ready for summer. I am growing on some coleus. I took snips, you know, I have lots of videos on propagating coleus, one of the easiest plants to cut, root, and duplicate all your plants. I have about 50 of my beloved zonal geraniums, Maverick series in the color salmon, and I just could not be happier. Let me go down here for the other ones. I just could not be happier with how they are growing. I'm just, oh, the health of the plants is fantastic. Let's see, Swallowtail Gardens is where I get my seed for my geraniums. And of course, I have nearly 50. Some will be as gifts. Many will go into my garden. And again, these are going to be going out in about 10 days to 2 weeks. Up here, back on top, I have feverfew here in the back for some cut flowers. I have lots of parsley. I have marigolds, and I do have some, um, gosh, okay, drawing a blank, nasturtiums that I grew from a different batch of seeds. I have celosia. I have what is it? Mrs. Bird's lemon basil that'll go all throughout my veggie garden. Some beautiful gomphrena and some ageratum. Oh, so my seed starting on the top shelf has really gone great. I have to be super careful now to water these every single day because it is heating up. It's 80 outside, and right now in the greenhouse it's 86, but I've got all the windows open and I've got this exhaust fan that'll kick on at 90 to try to keep things a little bit cooler. So let's check this little raised bed. As you know, you can see, pretty easy to see, I have lots of coleus. Now, this big Kong red and this one, these are just one plant each that I overwintered in here. I took them out of my garden at the end of the season last year and put them in here to grow on. And I've taken many, many, many cuttings of those. In fact, here's one of the cuttings that I took from this plant that'll go out in the garden. And then a lot of these are coleus that I purchased already. I can purchase things like this early in the season, even though it was too early when I got these to plant them outside because they're a tropical. They like warm evenings, but I can do that because I have a greenhouse and I have a place to keep them in the ready for when I get ready to plant them out. This is a new addition. I just did a little plant shopping yesterday, and this is Caryopteris. Never grew this beautiful perennial, but I wanted some more lavender and blue in my garden, and I could not resist. Here's another tray of things that I picked up yesterday on my recent plant purchase. I've got things like Ipomea or sweet potato vine. I'll show you later where this is going to go in the garden. And then Lamium, a wonderful shade tolerant ground cover that's going to go in. Never grew Lamium, so I picked that up. Back here, a lot of pepper plants, all different varieties. And then, of course, you all recognize these. Come in here close. These are my tomato plants. I've got about 44 tomato plants, some for my garden, some as gifts for friends, and I am growing 8 different varieties. Here's some more coleus cuttings. You can see there. And then down here is just my little herb garden. I have a lot of herbs outside, but I also like to have some herbs in one container inside my greenhouse year round. And when I'm cooking, I just pop out here and grab some parsley or rosemary. I've got a couple of different kinds of sage and a couple different kinds of thyme and some oregano, things that I use a lot. So this side of the greenhouse faces east, and I use this side of my greenhouse primarily for storage, for decorative items, for, you know, lots of my pots and potting up stuff. I've got this beautiful old dresser that I painted a bright, happy, sunshiny yellow, and of course some of my beloved geraniums that I keep in the greenhouse year round. But I want to show you 2 other purchases from yesterday that will be going out into the garden, and that would be hardy hibiscus. Oh my goodness, I have never grown these beauties, but I keep seeing people in the Midwest rave and rave about this perennial. So I'm going to grow 2 different varieties this year. I'm going to grow this one called the Cherry Cocoa Latte. I'll see if I can get in here so you can see the flower. And then this one is called Spinderella. So the great thing about these hardy hibiscus is the word hardy, which means they are a perennial. They're not an annual hibiscus, although a lot of people love to grow those beautiful tropical flowers like maybe around a pool or something like that. But these are actually bred to come back year after year. they turn into quite large shrubs. I think some of them are 5x5, 4x4, and 3x3. And these are running into the, I think 4 to 5 foot tall and wide. So they're going to fill in a nice big space out in one of our garden beds around the house. The other really magnificent thing about this particular plant is that the blooms I just showed you on the plant tag, they are what they call dinner plate size blooms. Literally, the flowers are humongous and can be seen from a far way off. So I am super excited. Those of you that have experience growing hardy hibiscus in your climate, please let me know how you enjoy those. And if you have any tips to share, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. So as we step inside the raised bed garden, you should see something that looks different, and those would be my new tall Birdie's raised beds that my husband and I just installed this season. I could not say enough good things about these tall raised beds. Wow, wow, wow. So let's look at what is happening in these raised beds. In this one here, you're going to see my leeks. I've got leeks and lots of scallions going. And on the other side, if I swing around here, you're going to see 2 long wiggly rows of carrots. And I grow 2 varieties, the new Carota and the glow stick moonrise. These are in all different colors, and these are just a beautiful deep orange that get super sweet and delicious. You might also notice that I like to mulch in my raised beds with straw that's been really finely ground up. It just has been something I've used for years and years and just have great success with weed suppression and moisture retention. Okay. Oh my gosh, you all. If those of you, I hope, if you weren't with me for the video when I planted up a lot of these raised beds, this is my greens raised bed. And we went away for a couple of days. I swear to you, the spinach and the loose leaf rocky top lettuce was half as tall as it is. In 2 days, we came back, and I mean, it's just packed in there. So I'm going to be making a spinach salad tonight. That is for darn sure. I've got some other lettuce. This is butterhead, and so you have to space those out a little bit better because they are supposed to grow into individual heads. And then it's kind of hard to see because there's so much in here, but if you follow my finger all the way down this center of the row, and you can actually see the colors, this is where my 5-color rainbow Swiss chard is, and that will grow on all summer long. You're going to see that I didn't have super great germination with my escarole, but I use this a lot in Italian cooking, and so, you know, I got a little bit out of it, as well as more of that loose leaf lettuce, the Rocky Top blend. Oh, salads galore. Here's the thing where I live, you have a fairly short springtime, so if you're wanting to harvest your lettuce and greens, unless it's something like chard or kale, you need to get on it here in the springtime, because once it gets consistently above 80, those greens will sometimes turn bitter. So I'm going to be harvesting away and giving away a lot of this delicious lettuce. Over in this raised bed, I have planted some broccoli and some potatoes down on this end. And again, I've mulched it with that wonderful straw that I like to use. And you're going to see these 2 hoops here. I need to get out here today or tomorrow and get this covered with some frost cloth and tied down. Broccoli has a tendency to get cabbage moths and caterpillars that destroy that crop. So I want to make it less likely that they're going to get in there and destroy that crop. So I need to get this covered soon. In these 2 little narrow beds, I've got some sugar snap peas in the center, and I have my perennial chives on either end, and they are starting to flower. I think their chive blossoms are so pretty, and they are edible. Let's see if I can get in here and show you their pretty purple flowers. Aren't they nice? So I use those for culinary purposes. All right, let's get over here. Just a couple more things to see. In this bed, everything you see growing on the perimeter is my garlic that I planted last October. I'll be harvesting these beauties probably in late June, for sure the very first week of July. And then we can't stop the garden walkabout without showing you, oh boy, there's a wasp. We have wasps everywhere in my garden, but let me carefully pull off this cover without getting stung. That's the idea, at least. There we go. Take the cover off. And this is my green stock or vertical planter. I've shown you all in a video how to put it together to set it up. And this year I placed 24 strawberry plants inside. I've left the top tier open. I haven't planted anything in there yet because my intention is to plant some of the flowers that I started from seed in the greenhouse. So they'll come out here pretty soon. But look at my strawberries. I am using the recommendations online for trying to grow seascape strawberries. Look at the flowers on my strawberries already. Oh my gosh, so exciting. So as we leave the raised bed garden, I thought I might walk down here to the pond to show you all our 2-acre pollinator habitat that is up the hill behind me. So I'm going to try to carefully turn the camera around and hoping you all can see what I'm referring to. So if you look up in this area right behind me, my husband and I converted 2 acres of our 10-acre property, oh gosh, this will be its 4th summer, into a monarch pollinator habitat, which means that we consulted with the Department of Conservation here in Missouri and are part of a program of converting some of your land to a pollinator habitat. We have planted, I believe, 26 varieties of native plants that pollinators love. It is just such a delight to enjoy and see it change over the season. Of course, it doesn't look like much now, as you can see, but I promise you, when I come back for the May garden walkabout, it will be a sea of oranges and yellows and whites and maybe even a little purple sprinkled in, as all of the coreopsis and coneflower and rudbeckia and bidens and fleabane, all of those native plants really start to put on their show about mid-May. And so you can be assured that I will bring you back. We'll take a tour. We've got some pathways up to the very top of the 2 acres with a little seating area that we enjoy. And so I'll make sure I show you when it's starting to really show off for the season. Now that we've left the pond area where I was showing you our 2-acre pollinator habitat, it is time to do a lap around the house. As those of you who have followed me know that we surround our house with lots of different garden beds. So let's see what my perennials and some of my shrubs are doing this time of year as they're getting ready for summer season. So here we are at the front of the house, and you can see 2 obelisks that are filled with one of my favorite climbing flowers from David Austin, and that would be my Gertrude Jekyll. And yes, it's Jekyll, not Jekyll. This rose was named after a very famous English gardener and garden designer, and I cannot say enough about their beauty. So of course we've got our little basic boxwood shrubs. One thing that I haven't talked about in a long time though are these solar lights. They are from HoseLink and they are the best ever. They are on dim all the time at night, and then when you get close, they're motion activated, and when someone's walking down the path, they brighten up the closer the person gets to the sensors, and so that makes it really nice to illuminate the walkway. Here we go. Here is my clematis. Let's take a look at this. And I've always called my clematis Jack Manny. I just heard another gardener the other day refer to this beauty as Jack Manai. Regardless of how you want to pronounce this clematis, it is a standard, reliable performer that comes back every year. One thing I did differently this year is I remembered in the spring to cut it back, and I cut this particular clematis back to about 8 inches off the ground, maybe 10, and I gave it some really good garden tone, plant tone, slow release fertilizer, and scratched it into the soil, and it is going like gangbusters. It will have gorgeous purple flowers here in probably about another month. My spirea isn't looking so hot. In fact, if I get in close, you can see I need to cut a lot of this dead away. I mean, the tips of some of these, that is just dead as a wedge. So I need to get my pruners out and tighten that up. We had terrible storms this week with loads and loads of flash flooding, tornadoes, water, and I need to get out here and sweep the patio off and the sidewalks because a lot of the mulch floated all around because this was underwater just a couple of days ago. There's the front porch. Those urns are just waiting for me to plant them up with some gorgeous new plants, which will happen again in a couple of weeks. I've got a beautiful Oh So Easy Italian ice that's looking pretty good. And if we round here, you see the North Pole arborvitaes, and that center spot, you probably are sick and tired of me saying, but the Belinda's Blush Rose will be planted in this spot within the next couple of weeks. It is going to be a gift from my son. He's promised me, and so I sure hope he can get it before they're all sold out. My goal this year is to really introduce some pops of color in this garden bed, and I have pre-ordered several proven winner annuals, and the way I'm going to do that is I am going to plant from about right here to about probably right here a little river of Supertunia Vista petunias in bubblegum and silverberry. They will fill out, they get enormous, and I think that'll be just what I was looking for. All right, now we'll head off to the south side of the house and take a look at Leonard Messel, our beautiful tulip tree. He is done blooming for the season, but he is such a beautiful, sweet tree that he looks great for the rest of the season. So this is a side of the house that doesn't get a lot of activity, only because there are no windows. We don't spend time on this side of the property much, even though we have a beautiful vista, but we don't hang out over here. So I use this side of the house to grow some more cut flowers. And so I've got a little raised bed here that will be full of zinnias. Here we are in this beautiful row of Baptisia or false indigo and peonies and a few other perennials. This is just about ready to bloom. This is lemon meringue, gorgeous yellow, deep yellow flowers. And then the purple one is, I think, purple sapphire. It's a little bit further behind, but you can imagine yellow next to purple, next to yellow, next to purple. Oh, gorgeous. You know, here are my love-hate plants. The classic peony. Why do I say that? Because peonies will bloom for me for about 2 weeks. If we don't get a tornado or a big thunderstorm to knock off all the gigantic blooms, you can see it is budded up like crazy. So they bloom for a short time, and then the foliage looks okay for about 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, and then it is just so susceptible in my hot and humid environment to powdery mildew and other fungal issues, and it just ends up, the shrub just looks awful. So that is the hate part of this plant for me. But I am happy to report, as you can see, I got organized and I put in these peony hoops. Have to do that early in the spring before they get big, and that helps to hold these plants up because they do produce these massive flowers, as you know, and those flowers are top heavy and it wants to bend over. But these hoops or supports for peony cages really address that issue. So I'll come in here close so you can see it again. I think we just picked the hoops up at a big box store. They're not terribly expensive and well worth the price. This perennial here is a Mismalia buddleia bush. I have not pruned it yet, but I need to now. Buddleias break dormancy really late in the spring, and what you want to look for is green growth. You want to follow the stems down, down, down until you see some green and cut it. So we have quite a lot of dieback. I mean, this is dead, dead, dead right here. We can look at that. There's no green inside these stems. I live in a pretty harsh environment in the winter, and this is very exposed, and so our buddleias really freeze out pretty far down to the ground, and then I cut the whole thing off, and I promise you this will be as big or bigger than it is right now later in the season. I've got some Russian sage, Perovskia, right here. Again, I need to come back in. I did some pruning earlier this season, but I need to get all of this dead wood out of here. And again, you follow down to where you see green, which is like right here, and you want to cut right above that and cut off the dead wood. Right here on the little tip, you will see another Baptisia, and I believe that's the sapphire purple. I've got some spiderwort, few little daffodils. They're on their last leg. Let's see what this pretty little thing looks like. Oh, yeah. Don't have many of these left. But what we do have a lot of are dandelions. I know some of you that live in a suburban world where you have houses close together. You really kind of freak out over dandelions and try to control those. We are out in the country, so you know what? We just let them be and mow them down, and eventually they'll be done for the season, so we don't worry too much about our dandelions. The Coreopteris that I showed you in the greenhouse, it's going to go here and fill in this section nicely. We've just got a variety of hosta, and then right over here is where one of my big 4x4, 5x5 hibiscus, hardy hibiscus plants I showed you is going to go. Here we are moving down the east side of the house, and this is my challenging garden bed. Anybody that watches my videos knows that this bed holds water. For whatever reason, we can't figure it out. So instead of fighting against the fact that it's a wet environment, we are placing perennials this year in this bed that can handle some wet feet. What you see here is our sort of foundational plants. The three of these, they are Limelight Prime hydrangeas. They'll get about 4 to 5 foot at maturity. I just planted these last year, so they're babies. But they're looking super healthy. They came back through the winter just fine. And another one of the hardy hibiscus is going to go in this open space right here. This bed and this space gets at least 6 hours of morning sun. And then sometimes during certain times of the year, this area right through here gets some late afternoon sun, depending upon where the sun is in the sky. Walk over here, I've got a hosta coming back up. I've got some more spiderwort, and again, here we can see another Miss Molly buddleia, butterfly bush. And if I can get my camera in here to show you the green growth at the base, I need to take these stems way, way, way down and prune this in the next couple of days so it'll be ready for the season. We have some Nepeta or catmint. I've got 3 little plants started there. And then more hydrangeas. And these 3 hydrangeas are going to be in their 3rd season. And they are the little lime punch variety. They get to be about 3 foot by 3 foot. And they fill in this space nicely. You can see a big open area right here, and I have ordered a boxwood spiral shrub that will, I think, max out between 5 and 6 foot tall. So it's nice and narrow, and it's got some architectural interest. So I'm hoping we could get our hands on one of those. And I will be planting behind it, around it, and behind these beds, all of those coleus that I showed you that I propagated from the mother plants. And last but not least, here we are, Mr. Mikawa Yatsubusa, our dwarf Japanese maple. I mean, just check out these leaves. The color is so spectacular. It glows. Super, super fluffy. And I've surrounded it with Brunnera. If you haven't heard about Brunnera yet, oh my goodness. You need to get your hands on some Brunnera. They love shade. They're great for underplanting. These are new. I just planted these last fall, and they will eventually fill this whole area in. They get about 3 foot in diameter. Back behind, I've got some hostas coming up. I've got 3 hosta in the back, and again, right up against the house is where I'm going to put a lot of coleus that can really tolerate the shade. That's going to do it for our April walkabout. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today as I got to show you what's growing in my garden. We took a look in that greenhouse and all the plants that are crammed in there that I've started from seed, and some that I picked up at my local nursery that are just itching to get out here in their final spot for the season. We looked at the raised bed garden, my veggies and herbs, and some cut flowers that I'm going to get started out there. And then we took a final lap around the house so I could show you some of the garden beds that are close to the house, and also share with you some of my ideas for some new introductions this year. I am so excited about this new season. It is a wonderful time to be a gardener. I know that many of you are feeling just like I am, especially if you are gardening in the Midwest. We are waiting for the last official frost to be passed, and which it is for where I garden. So in just 2 weeks, things are going to look a lot different, because I'm going to just start hauling out all of those plants and getting them in the ground and getting them off to what I hope will be another beautiful summer season. So until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.